With the PS5 being somewhat of a disappointing generation in terms of their exclusives, Sony were in a desperate need to release something that was universally praised. And then they decided to release Concord, which was an absolute hit. PlayStation were not looking good after Concord. But it didn't seem to matter, as 2 weeks later they went from releasing this absolutely egregious game that was a disrespect to gaming in general, to a gaming classic and a breath of fresh air that we have needed for years now in Astro. But you know, Sony couldn't go too long with doing something good, so they had to decide to release a PS5 Pro for $700. But with Astro, it released on September 6th, and honestly to my surprise blew up and was getting 10s out of 10s, 9s out of 10s. This was being considered from the get-go a future all-time classic of a game. And honestly, I was really impressed by these reviews, but I was still somewhat skeptical and thought people were kind of overhyping this game. I still went into it thinking this was going to be pretty good, but playing for the first time brought such a genuine feeling of joy and excitement from playing it. And if I had to summarize Astro into a few words, that's what it would be. Just pure fun. Playing this game genuinely had the feeling of playing video games as a kid again. There was no ulterior objective in the game, no super deep narrative, not some Souls game with difficult gameplay. This is a game that is just pure fun with impeccable level design, music, audio, and mechanics. Astro nails every single aspect that it needs to. And don't get me wrong, I still absolutely love those other styles of games where there is a deep story or challenging combat. But sometimes it feels like those are the only types of games we get in mainstream media. Obviously, we still get our indie games that continue to release super unique titles, but we have been lacking games like Astro in the mainstream. This is truly just a top tier 3D platformer. And some people will just sit there and say, oh, Mario did it first, or this is some rip-off Mario. And even if that is true, is that a bad thing? To have a game being compared to the best of the best Mario games on your first go at a full price title is extremely impressive. Like, I'm just amazed by how enjoyable this game is, and I thoroughly enjoyed every single second of it. The level design, in my opinion, is top tier. Each level is so unique from one another, and you feel as if you're in a completely different world. Like, I genuinely don't know if I've seen so much variety in level designs in any game ever. We go from these underwater worlds to these haunted ones, one set in an ice cream land, and so many more. I would be spending too much time going through every single one. Astro truly perfected making the gameplay never feel repetitive whatsoever and keeping you engaged the entire 15-ish hours of this game. And along with these levels, they also have PlayStation character themed ones at the end of each system. And these were some of my most enjoyable levels. We had an Ape Escape one, a God of War one, an Uncharted one. They just added a lot to the game. Like, that God of War level was life-changing. The second I realized I could throw my axe just like Kratos does in the game, I think I reached enlightenment. And then with the Uncharted level, just hearing the theme music in the background for the whole mission was so beautiful. It gave me such nostalgia hearing it again. Some people could say they kind of fed into the fan service with these kind of things, but I don't really see it that way. It's generally just a few levels out of all of them in the game. And outside of just the variety in the level design, the different power-ups you get on specific levels are so unique and make the experience even better. PlayStation utilized their IPs, and I think they used them well to stand out a bit from just being a generic 3D platformer. Like, bro, I'm out here transforming into a mouse seamlessly exploring these different places. Now here I can slow down time. They low-key use this ability a few times, but we also can fly here, get these punchy hands, we can float, we can soak up water and become super big, and the list doesn't end there. This game is actually insane with its creativity. There was never a point where I was playing where I felt like things were getting repetitive, and I was constantly experiencing new things, and the game always felt fresh. They did such a good job of integrating these different powers into the level and centering the level around the power. And these powers aren't just useful to explore and complete the level. These things can be utilized in combat and again mixes things up. Also, Astro is probably up there with some of the prettiest games I've ever played. And it's not some ultra realistic graphics, but the art style and the way they designed everything was beautiful. Every level was genuinely drop dead gorgeous to explore and go through. And for this game being easy for the most part, there were definitely some levels that made me question my existence because I kept dying on them. Like those fire levels or the ones with the spikes where you had to roll on a ball. I was actually about to crash out on them. But they were still so much fun to experience and go through, and I loved the challenge. Because I've never been someone to really play platformers much, so to have a game be challenging in a way that's not just combat or puzzles was a great switch up for me. Another major thing that Astrobot does utilize is the DualSense controller, which is basically like one of the only games that actually use it to any high degree on the PS5, which is sad to see. But it adds so much to the gameplay experience, actually having to utilize your controller by moving it in a certain direction, blowing into it, and other small things just like that make the gameplay even more enjoyable and unique from other games. I also just loved all the different characters they had appear. Like the second I saw Aigis from Persona 3, I knew this game was peak. And it was funny seeing them utilize characters from IPs that we have not seen in ages. This is probably the closest thing we're going to get to a Bloodborne remaster, so. But for how much I am praising this game, it's not perfect and does have some issues here and there. Like for me, there really isn't some super memorable boss that you're going to take away from this and remember. And with some main planets, I wish they had some challenges on par with the ones that were really challenging. Because on the main planets, you can fairly just cruise your way through the level without too much thought to it. But yeah, that's not even like crazy complaints that ruin much of the game at all. What Astrobot set out to do, they did, and they nailed it in basically every single way imaginable. This genuinely has a chance of winning Game of the Year, and right now I would probably say it's the favorite to win it. It's not my personal Game of the Year, but if I had to make a guess on what I think is going to win, I would pick Astrobot. I think it got the traction and popularity, and the reviews for it are just insane. And it's funny seeing so many people hate on this game for the fact that it's getting praised. Like, I've seen some TikToks talking about how they find it funny that people are praising this kids game. Like, what does that even mean? This game can be enjoyed by people of all ages and anyone can have a great experience with it. This is one of those few games where I believe that anyone can find something that they enjoy with Astrobot. And just because it's not your typical AAA third-person story open world adventure, doesn't instantly make it a kids game or something that should not get recognition. This deserves as much praise as a Black Myth Wukong, which I think was an impeccable game, but one that falls into the more typical style of game that we see today. There's nowhere that says since you like these kinds of games, you can like these. I don't know why us as a gaming community can't just enjoy as many genres as we want to. There are masterpieces everywhere in gaming if you are willing to expand your horizon and give them a chance. And I promise you, you will be surprised by how many gems are out there that you would not have given a chance to otherwise. But with that being said, Astrobot is a masterpiece in my opinion. It checks off every imaginable box that it needed to and is truly a breath of fresh air in the gaming community. My final rating of Astrobot is a 9 out of 10. I believe that everyone should play this game as it reminds me of gaming as a kid. Playing Minecraft or some Lego games where there was no deeper objective than to simply have fun and to play to your heart's content. And that is what gaming should always be. It should be simply fun, and I think Astrobot was a reminder of that. If you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Your support means the world to me, and I will see you in the next video.